Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Jonathan. I'm a third year PhD student from the University of Waterloo, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to be sharing some tips on how to succeed in grad school, especially if you're starting your first year this coming September. School is only a couple weeks away, and I know that grad school can definitely be a very scary and big chapter in many people's lives. And so after doing a master's and currently doing my PhD, I just wanted to share some tips and experiences that I've gone through, so hopefully you don't make the same mistakes that I did. So whether you're entering grad school directly from undergrad or you're returning back to school after working in industry for a couple of years, I think some of these tips can help you get into the right mindset for your upcoming school year. My first tip is to recognize that grad school can be a fresh new start for you. For many people, undergrad is a really fun and experimental time in their lives where they got to really, leave the comfort of home and really try to discover who they are as an individual. I know that through my undergraduate experience, there was a lot of high moments, but there were also some low moments. Going from high school to undergrad is a huge transition, and in many cases, I wasn't able to transition well enough or fast enough, and that sometimes led to poor decisions, which ultimately led to low grades. In fact, I actually remember that the night before my first year stats exam, I've pretty much given up on the course, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to do well, so I think I actually played MapleStory for a couple hours the night before I wrote the exam. And unfortunately, I didn't do that great in the exam, and I ultimately ended the course with a C. Now that's definitely probably the worst decisions I've made in my life. And I actually did worry that this C will come and haunt me in terms of applying to grad school, in terms of applying to a PhD program, and also getting a job. But I think it's important to realize that once you enter into grad school, then a lot of the mistakes that you made in undergrad, whether you did get some bad marks in undergrad, it doesn't actually carry over into your experience as a graduate student. And in fact, I actually think it's really helpful to think that grad school is going to be a fresh start, because then you can kind of leave all your undergrad baggage behind. Having a fresh start means that you can start this school year with the right mentality. You can tell yourself the goals that you want to achieve. You can set those goals for yourself, and you don't have to let the baggage of undergrad weigh you down. My second tip is to learn from the past. I think it's really important to kind of reflect on your experience in undergrad and to really think critically on what things worked well for you and what things did not. Because graduate school is going to be a fresh start in your academic career, this is your chance to identify the things that didn't work well in your undergraduate degree and then attempt to fix them for your graduate degree. For myself, there were three main areas that I wasn't really satisfied in terms of my undergraduate degree, and I tried to make an effort in correcting them for my graduate degree. So the first one is that I had pretty bad study habits, and it's pretty funny considering that now I'm doing a PhD in accounting, but when I was in my undergraduate degree getting my bachelor's in business administration, I really didn't know how to study. I spent a lot of times copying notes from the textbook, but didn't really spend enough time memorizing the actual content. Sometimes in the lectures, I won't pay attention to the lecture because I would get distracted really easily, and I'll just kind of like surf the web. And so I kind of identified that these are the areas where I wasn't being a really good student and it was hurting my performance academically. And so I wanted to make an effort to fix these issues when I was doing my master's and when I'm doing my PhD program. Another area that I wasn't really great at was meeting with people and developing relationships with other students in the program. Normally I'm a pretty shy person and I'm pretty introverted, and I think when I was entering undergrad I was really shy, and it was really hard for me to speak up and make friends with other people. And I realized that not taking the effort to develop those relationships in my first year really hurt my ability to connect with people in my fourth year. In addition to just not connecting with other people, this also hurt my abilities to attend networking sessions where companies would send representatives to talk about the company and to network with students. I was actually really bad at networking in undergrad because, again, my anxiety and my shyness would just kind of get in the way. And if you're not good at communicating with these company representatives, and if you can't network with them effectively, then your chances of getting a summer internship are pretty low. So knowing that I was really shy and I had a lot of anxiety, I made a mental note to myself that on the first day of class, I was going to make an effort to introduce myself and say hi to as many new people as I possibly could. And that's exactly what I did on day one of the program. I introduced myself, I met a lot of people, and going through that exercise of recognizing my weakness, creating a plan on how I want to tackle it, and then executing that plan on the first day of the program really laid the foundation for me developing a relationship with the other students throughout the duration of my master's degree. And when it came to networking with company representatives, for example, the big four accounting firms would host a number of networking sessions in our school. Again, I made that effort to just push past the anxiety and push past the shyness and just go up to the recruiter and say, "Hi, my name is Jonathan," strike up a conversation. I actually made notes before the networking sessions where I would come up with potential networking questions to ask the recruiters. I know it sounds really, really weird, but that kind of preparation gave me the comfort on striking up a conversation such as, "Oh, where did you travel? What's life like at the firm?" And just kind of questions like that to just get the conversation rolling. And it seemed to work because it did end up landing a internship with Ernst & Young for 2 busy seasons, and that ultimately led to my full-time offer with the firm. The last thing that I really didn't like about myself in undergrad was that I had a really unhealthy diet in the terms of I would eat a lot of fatty foods. I wasn't really taking care of my physical health. I didn't go to the gym. And what I realized is that having poor physical health did affect my mental health in terms of having a lack of confidence in myself and therefore translating into how I would interact with other students in the program. And also I think it affected my confidence in my academics somehow because I just wasn't feeling really good physically, and so I wouldn't feel really good mentally, and then I wouldn't perform academically. A big thing that I changed was I actually started hitting the gym in the 4th year of my undergrad. I'm definitely a lot more fit now than I used to be in my undergraduate program. So since school is about to kick off in a couple weeks, now is probably the best time to look back on your 4 years of undergrad, really identify what areas you aren't proud of, what areas you think you could actually fix and address, and try to come up with a game plan and try to actually make that change in the first week of your graduate degree program. And hopefully that should make your graduate degree program a lot better than your undergraduate degree experience. The third tip that I have is to remind yourself why you're doing a graduate degree. Now, for many people, including myself, doing an undergraduate degree was more of a requirement than a personal choice. I remember that in high school, the expectation was that I would go to university, and that was the same expectation that a lot of my friends had. When it comes to graduate degrees, it's usually very different. Many people choose to do graduate degrees in order to get that promotion at work, in order to pursue a career in academics, or maybe they just want to get a certain type of job that needs a higher education degree. In many cases, it's not the parents that are forcing the kids to do the graduate degree. It's really the student that decides that obtaining this graduate degree is the right move for my career. And I think it's really important to keep that in the back of your mind because I always remind myself why I'm doing my PhD whenever I feel demotivated or I feel really down about the program. I think it's totally normal for people to go through different waves of emotions when they're in school. Sometimes you're really enjoying school, you're really liking the material, you're really enjoying your experience, but there's always going to be moments where you feel that grad school was not the right decision, or you feel really demotivated to study and get work done. And I always remind myself why I'm doing a PhD in the first place. And the reason why I'm doing a PhD is because I find accounting really interesting and I want to pursue the opportunity to become a faculty member at a university. And by constantly reminding myself that that is my end goal, that is my dream essentially, that inherently motivates me to kind of push past whatever sort of mental barrier that I'm facing. And it actually does kind of motivate me to put in more effort and to try harder in school. I think that if you're doing a graduate degree because your parents are forcing you, you're not going to try as hard or work as hard as the person who voluntarily decided to go to grad school, because the person who voluntarily decided to go to grad school is inherently interested in the program and inherently has that motivation to work hard. Whereas the person who's going because their parents are telling them to are kind of doing it against their will. So whenever you're having a bad day and you feel pretty demotivated about studying, always try to remind yourself why you're here, why you applied in the first place, and what goal you're trying to achieve. My next tip is to remind yourself that you are an adult and it's time to take things a little bit more seriously. Undergrad can be a crazy time because it is such a huge transition in your life. You're entering university at 18 years old, you're pretty young, you just got out of high school, you're still a teenager, and the amount of growth and personal development you go through from 18 to 22 is actually crazy. And I remember that when you enter university as a first year student, people understand that you're going through this huge transition and they give you a lot of leeway and flexibility in order to help you with that transition because it is a really big step. But when you're going into graduate school, the expectation is that you are going to behave more like an adult. You're going to take things a little bit more seriously and you're going to behave in a bit more of a professional manner. So what does this mean to you? Well, I think it means that you should spend less time skipping classes. You should probably spend less time partying and staying up late. You should probably spend more time studying, focusing on the material, engaging with other students, talking with professors, and overall just being a more mature individual. There's definitely going to be times where you can be immature and have fun with your friends and enjoy life, but I think when it comes to the day-to-day routine of grad school, the expectation is that you kind of treat it more seriously. The best way that I think about this is that when I started grad school, a lot of my friends were actually working full-time at accounting firms. And based on my experience at the accounting firm, the environment at the firm is really different from the environment at school. At school, I think you can be a little bit more relaxed. You have days where maybe you don't want to work and so you slack off a little bit. But when you're at the corporate world, things are a lot more rigid, things are a lot more professional. You're expected to perform on a day-to-day basis. You can't really make excuses about slacking off. You have to push past those personal barriers of yours in order to get the work done. And I think having that sort of training at a Big Four accounting firm really helped with my mentality and my work ethic when I started my PhD program. I started to treat my PhD more like a job. And so because I treat it like a job, I would try to be really focused from 9 to 5. I would work some evenings. I would usually work the mornings of both weekends, and ultimately just having a different mindset on the task at hand. I'm no longer an undergraduate student who just has to get these assignments done and get through the exam. I'm now a PhD student. This is my job. I'm expected to perform and I want to perform. My next tip is to try to develop a relationship with your professors. As an undergraduate student, I did not have any relationship with my professors. I barely participated in class. I never went to office hours. And so when it was time for me to get recommendations from my professors for my master's and PhD applications, it got really, really awkward because they didn't really know me. I didn't really know them. And the recommendation letters that I did get, I could tell would just be very generic and not personalized to my own character. When it comes to grad school, developing that relationship with professors is a lot more important. And it's also a lot easier because grad school classes are typically a lot smaller than undergraduate classes. And so you get a lot more one-to-one face time. If you're interested in a career in academia, developing a relationship with your professors is obviously going to be very helpful because the professor likely worked in research as well. You could probably become a research assistant, and you can also get recommendations for your PhD applications. If you're interested in industry, then developing a relationship with your professor is also pretty important because then you can also get a personalized recommendation letter as well. Now, it's pretty easy to develop a relationship with your professors. The easiest way is to just participate and be more vocal in class. This shows that you actually took the time in the rest of the week to read through the material, prepare yourself for the lecture, and it shows that you're interested in the material. And I think professors really appreciate when students put in the effort into preparing for the class and participating in class. So that's definitely an easy way to stand out. Another way is just to attend office hours and ask a lot of questions if you are genuinely confused about the material or if you're interested in other aspects of the material that you think the professor can help you out with. One recollection I have is that in my first year of my PhD program, we had to take a microeconomics course for graduate students. And being an accounting student, my understanding of economics was very, very minimal. I only took like micro and macroeconomics in my first year of my undergrad. It's been many years since I've taken any sort of economics course, and I just found that course really, really challenging. And I would go to office hours every single week. And I recall that it was always me and this other student who went to office hours every single week asking questions. And I think just through that, I developed a relationship with the professor. I got to know a little bit about him. He also got to know a little bit about me and the fact that I'm doing a PhD in accounting and not economics. And so I think just through these conversations, he was able to see that I was, trying really hard every week. And I think he was actually a little bit more lenient when it came to grading my material compared to the other students who would be very inactive in class. And so this is definitely a very easy way for you to develop that relationship. And I think the benefits that you can get out of that relationship is just really immense. My final tip is to try to enjoy the last couple weeks of August before grad school starts. Grad school is going to be a very exciting, very stressful time in your life, and I know for a fact that it's going to get busy really quick. That's why I recommend that you try to enjoy as much as you can with the last couple of weeks in August. Really try to take your mind off things and try to get yourself in a relaxed state, because the coming semester is definitely going to be really busy. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. A lot of these recommendations are pretty high level and really address some of the mental challenges I had when I finished my undergraduate degree and just started grad school. If you guys enjoyed this video and want more tips about grad school and you want to follow my PhD journey, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that thumbs up. It really helps me out. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.